Hello everyone and welcome back to another video of mine. This time I'm back with Kali, Flame of Samsara, season 1 episode 5. Y'all, let me tell you that I started yelling when I saw that there was a diamond rush. But we are here. I want to know what happens. I completely forgot what happened last episode. I think the temple was burned down. I have no idea who it was. I'm just gonna say that it was British soldiers, and sadly the candidate that was chosen by the Dozen in order to marry the British lord was killed in that massacre, and our brother died too. So I have the feeling that we're gonna see Davy's dark era. I mean, we kind of already had her dark era because she's always been kind of impulsive and wild, always going with what she thought was right. And I don't really want to call her selfish because I have the feeling I'm gonna shoot myself by saying that, because I had a nice conversation with a nice subscriber of mine. At this point, I have to say that she's my friend because we just get along so well. And we had this nice conversation and I was like asking if she had the feeling that I was like Davy, and she's like, yes. So if I say that I'm selfish, I would be shooting myself, but at the same time, to a specific degree, we're all selfish in some kind of way, and in the way that Davy was selfish in this story was that she didn't want to give up her freedom in order to become the British Lord's wife. She didn't want to be married off. She saw this as her life being completely wasted, her life being over. But now that the candidate that was chosen to marry the British Lord was killed, I don't have the feeling that we're gonna get out of this. I have the feeling that we will volunteer to become the new wife because we're gonna be out for bloodthirst. I don't know how exactly it works, but apparently Kairas was looking out for us, and that's how it usually goes in our case. But since our brother is gone and we're the only, in a certain sense, substitute for him, because we're the younger sister and there's no one else in our family right now that could take charge, we're gonna be in charge in a certain sense. I don't think that the decision will go to the Bazoo's family after the heir of our family was killed. So I feel like we're gonna be in charge now of our case, and we are gonna be saying, yeah, I volunteer to marry this man because she's gonna be out for vengeance. But we will see what this episode will give us. That fateful night changed the life of the Dozen. The time hasn't been enough to erase memory of it, and its consequences are far from over. Uh-oh. I did say, she's out for blood. Episode 5, Precious Miss. Uh-oh. I heard from a few subscribers that there's gonna be a time jump. Is it gonna happen now? If that was not an omen of the end of mankind, what was? Look at this. All the birds and even the shades. God, our ancestors warned us that dark times led to the end of our existence, to death and atonement for the sins of the past. But that will be followed by a rebirth, by a pure world and a new life. First comes pain, then happiness. There's always pain, and the more pain you feel in your life, the more you will recognize the small amount of happiness life gives you. That's sadly how things are, or at least how it was for me. Y'all can tell me in the comments how it was for you, but in my eyes, I only saw negative side of things. A bright future has been foretold, but you have to pay for it with blood in the present. But what if the end is not yet close, or it should have come a long time ago but didn't? After all, people wanted freedom, and they received it. How bitter would the disappointment be if the result of terrible things happening in the present were to be nothing but the gods' indifference? Damn! They show no hate, but no love either. Do they still listen to people's prayers, or have they long lost the ability to hear? That's us saying the gods aren't listening. I mean, let me tell you something. I wasn't always non-religious. I was in a religion, and when I was a believer back in the day, I would feel very destroyed, especially since I don't really have much patience. And we all know that patience is a virtue that not everyone has. I don't have patience. And when you are backed into a corner and you can't do anything but pray to the Lord, hoping that He will save you, and then you don't receive the help when you need it the most, you start to lose your faith. And for me, it's a little deeper than that. If a few of you want, I can make a video on that. But we're not gonna get deeper into it in this episode. But the fact here is, when you really need help and guidance from the God and you don't receive it, you start to lose your faith. And here, after being destroyed so many times, psychologically, right now, we just saw our temple being destroyed. I don't know who it belonged to. I think it belongs to all the members of the Dozen, but we lost our brother in that fight. And I think seeing the only person that no matter what she did, always was there for her, being massacred in front of her, is the worst thing that could have happened. It just brings the reality of the situation more in mind, because sadly, something always hits you when you are personally involved in this. Just to put out an example, I'm not trying to pinpoint at anyone or saying that people are heartless, but when we see someone being in danger, they are dying, we feel sympathy, we feel compassion, but it's not more than that. We don't really feel the pain of losing that person because we're not personally involved with that person. But when we do, we feel the full impact of the pain that losing someone you truly love and need in your life can do to you. We feel the full impact. And that's when we start to change, because sadly, pain is the best teacher. We saw it in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, y'all. Pain is the best teacher. Sadly, you only learn when pain literally drags you down to your knees and makes you, in a certain sense, beg for mercy, beg for release from all that negativity, from all that pain. And that's when you start to change. When the pain reached your core and made you cripple down on your knees, begging for release. When you're at your worst moment, that's when you start to change. Sadly, we first change into the worst version of ourselves because of the pain and because of the fact that we still need to heal from that horrible experience. And then we can decide if we want to keep that negativity or if we want to change that negativity and turn it into something positive. And that's when we start to become a better person. As in, we learned from that horrible experience and we didn't allow it to destroy us. And we started to learn how to use that negativity for something positive. But not everyone does that. And that's exactly what's going on right now. Right now, Davy is actually questioning life's meaning. The end of the world. Death by the hand of the gods is a mercy, but are people worthy of it? Silence and stillness can be louder than any words. Finish yourselves off. Uh-oh. 1900, Calcutta, British India. Okay. Once again, a merciless fate divided the Indians' lives into before and after. It weakened them, leading them away from their intended path. It disoriented and drove them apart, further inciting their hatred against their enemies. But there was a silver lining to that chaos. Dark times always gave birth to bright minds, guiding stars in a boundless night sky. 5 years after the events in the Himalayas, didn't I say the time jump? Shock me. How are we holding on? An insistent knock on the door made Davy jump up. Sleepy and startled, she raised her head as Kamal entered the room. Oh, all right.
I knew it. You've fallen asleep. Get up quickly, we're in a hurry. Don't you want to close the deal?
No. Kamal opened the door wider and let in the maids, who rushed in carrying some clothes. Davia was still half asleep, so she didn't quite understand what was going on and what they all wanted from her. Seeing the look of confusion on her face, Kamal smiled softly.
Did the quarterly report tire you out, precious miss? Get ready. The head of the Sharma family doesn't have time for naps.
See? We became the head now. He walked out of the room, leaving the woman alone. The head maid, Aishwarya, helped Devi get to her feet.
Are you tired, my dear? You should freshen up.
You can't go out looking like this. What's wrong with my clothes? Before Davy could open her mouth to reply, the maids began fussing over her. She looked in the mirror. I don't know. You know what? I'm all in for showing belly. Give me that. Yeah, I like their choice. Davia looked at the young woman staring back at her from the mirror. She had grown up so quickly. The terrible events of the past had left their mark. She'd grown thinner. Her face had lost some of its roundness, and the mischievous spark was gone from her eyes. Yeah, that's what happens when you seriously reach the bottom. Her gaze was no longer burning with an enthusiastic light, but had become calm and thoughtful. Those were the eyes of a grown woman. I dozed off without realizing it. That's because you spent the whole night poring over those papers. Great gods, I didn't think there would be so much work. Things are looking up for the Sharma family. You should be happy. You shouldn't complain, miss, or the dozen may change their minds. Work is good, especially when there's a lot of it. While they were talking, the maids were doing Davy's hair. Oh my god, look at this! Okay. I love this though. But I think this suits the outfit. No, I have to go with this. I love this way too much. I see. Since I'm not allowed to complain, I will suffer in silence. You're the first woman aside from the Basus who was entrusted to manage the affairs of their family. Do you remember how hard Mr. I fought for you? Yes, she remembered everything very well. The responsibility had weighed heavily on her shoulders for 4 years. Before that, Davy had spent a year mourning her brother. The loss of someone so dear to her had settled on her heart like ash. Y'all, this is exactly what I explained in the intro. Oh well. The need to take Kaira's place drained her at first because everything reminded her of him. As if on cue, Kamal entered the office. Looking at Davy, he nodded approvingly.
Great, you're ready. We should head out. Your assistant is waiting for you.
Her new life was the polar opposite of the one she used to live. The night Kairas died, all the survivors fled to the nearest village where the locals gave them shelter and food. Ram found Davy in a field as if he knew where to look and took her back to the others. Aww. Oh wow, handsome. 1895, the night of the fire at the mountain residence. His hands gently touched Davy's body, checking if she was injured. A thunderstorm was coming. Lightning strikes slashed the dark purple sky, illuminated by the light of the flames. Brother, my brother. Leaning toward her, Ram touched her forehead. Then he adjusted his grip to pick her up in his arms.
Close your eyes, Davy.
The cold of the ground was suddenly replaced by the warmth of his body. Davy couldn't think straight, feeling as if she was lost in a stupor or a trance. The chaos lasted much longer than the attack itself. The strangers' intended was to intimidate the dozen, not to kill them all. Many of those who managed to escape ran to the stables. Others decided to rely on their own strength and went to the village on foot. Many lay dead within the smoldering wreckage. It would have been unwise to go back to retrieve their bodies. They could only hope that the impartial fire would incinerate the bodies, freeing their souls from the prison of their flesh and purifying them before their meeting with the gods. After all, they had suffered a dishonorable death. Some bullets could have been greased with beef or pork fat to further desecrate their victims. The dozen had to take care of the survivors, of whom there were many. They regrouped and left the Himalayas a few days later. They had to leave all their belongings and valuables behind, their home taken away from them for no fathomable reason. Once again, they were killed like stray dogs. Another crime, hardly the first. What sort of alliance and cooperation could there ever be with such an enemy? "1900, present day. They were walking down the corridor toward the main door. Kamal was leading the way and Davy followed. She could never repay him for the tenacity with which he had secured a better life for her. A few weeks after the fire, when all the families had returned to their estates, mourned the dead, and recovered from their losses, the dozen decided to have a meeting. There were a lot of questions to discuss. Who sent those mercenaries? How did they know where the residence was? Why did they do that? What were they going to do about the engagement, the British lord, his bride, and the death of the head of the Sharma family? I thought you were coming with Amrita.
My sister is doing her own thing. She believes that DOOBAY is going to marry her soon.
5 years later and she still doesn't have him.
Asked her to come with me, but she said she would come visit you later.
She's still hoping that Raj will marry her. No one in their right mind will make alliances right now.
Try telling her that.
You are the one that tried to force him to marry her, sir. Several important people had been killed. One of them was Kairas, the head of his family and the main heir, who was going to be entitled to his property. Devi was left without a guardian. She cared little about that at the time. In her grief, she felt utterly indifferent about the question of who was going to inherit the Sharma estate. Everything was decided for her. Devi couldn't be responsible for herself. And yet Kamal strongly argued about that at the meeting. He advocated for Devi's right to learn all that she needed in order to run her family affairs herself. I mean, it is her legacy, technically, even if her brother Kairas was the one that was supposed to be the head of the family. When he died, she's the one now. It's not like she killed him herself, like he died. So she has the right to inherit the Sharma estate. And she has the right to be the head of her family. If she's refusing and she's like, I'm sorry, I can't do it, like I need a guardian or something, I don't know, maybe the Dozen would be capable to like make some kind of agreement or arrangement. Like, I don't know. Even though I'm not a fan of Kamal after what he's trying to do with Raj, but it's fine for now considering the fact that Raj hasn't married Amrita. But maybe, considering the fact that Kamal was Kaira's best friend, maybe he could like take care of us if it's necessary and back in the day. If she feels that she needs a guardian, someone to look after her, maybe the Dozen could like arrange for Kamal to look after her. It was unthinkable. A young woman with no experience becoming the head of the third most important family in the Dozen. No one was going to agree to that. After all, if the Sharma family fortunes were to be lost, it was going to affect everyone else too. All 12 families were closely connected, but someone else took Devi's side, a man no one expected that from. And yet, could he even be called a man? Huh? 1896, a few months after the fire, chaos reigned in the hall of the Bazoo estate. People were arguing about who would be the most suited to lead the Sharma family. They considered distant relatives, the closest younger heirs, everyone possible. Yeah, besides the woman, like I said. Because in the Sharma family, the head is a man. So why would she?
Kaira's father had a younger brother, Anil. I heard he's traveling. Sir, what's wrong with his sister? My wife died in that fire, but I'm no hurrying to replace her. Devi is a woman, and she's only 18. She isn't strong and wise enough to manage all of her family's affairs. The Sharma have a very prosperous business. Her contribution to the Dozen's fund can only compare in size to those of the Bazoos.
Woohoo! Take me in, bitches! I am that powerful! I love it. The Dubais and Takuas didn't make any contributions because they were Brahminical families. They were the ones who received and managed the money. The contributions were offerings made in gratitude for their wisdom and guidance. Part of it went to the personal needs of the Brahims, which helped both families amass their fortune. The rest was put into reserve or used for the collective needs of the Dozen. After the fire, the reserve was utilized immediately. Vidya, who was sitting on a chair, grimaced. The tragedy made her look older than she was. There were gray hairs in her shiny curls. But in the first month following the incident, those changes seemed insignificant.
Raj, stop yapping. You're making me tired. Mr. DOOBAY, how do you know whether she will be able to manage affairs or not? Devi is well known for her character.
She is very determined, thoughtful, and honorable, studious, and clever. Well, very determined, yes, but I can't really say thoughtful, though. We have always been considered as wild. So I would have to go with studious and clever. Like, we are very determined. That's what we know because we always wanted to study hard. We wanted to learn how to fight. So I would have to say studious and clever.
If we let her, she will study all these subjects usually reserved for men with the same seal. We're running the risk of wasting a brilliant mind instead of allowing it to flourish.
Oh, wow, okay. Pride, period.
You've clearly lost your mind after what happened, Kamal. How can a woman run a mining business? Make the oath, give a tight grip on the workers. There's no reason a woman shouldn't be able to do that perfectly well.
That she is a woman, period. Oh, I love Vidya. I think she kind of grew attached to us. I don't want to say attached to us, but I would say she grew a soft spot for us after we saved her.
There's no reason a woman shouldn't be able to do that perfectly well. A pride of lions always obeys the lioness.
Woohoo! Rash and Vidya started arguing. That's nice. Only the one whom no one dared interrupt could reconcile those two. Ratan! Ratan! My son! Got up from his seat. Oh, Ratan! Always happy to see this man.
Times are changing, and you need to change alongside them. Mr. DOOBAY, will you dare doubt the female mind again if I remind you that the Dark Mother is also a woman?
Oh, I love it. Stand up for me, bitches. Stand up for me. Exactly. Shut up. Many people listen to the Avatar of Order. Kamal added.
Davia can handle this. Give her a chance. The only difference between her and the Bazueras is their training. Radha has been preparing for this since childhood.
They could discuss the hairs freely as only the heads of the most important families were present.
Rita, Shiva, and Kamal are right. Davia will need several years to learn how to conduct her business, and only then we'll see if she can handle it or not. Do you want to postpone this decision? Do you think we're in a position to take risks? I'm afraid I might have reached an age where I'm too set in my own ways. My stubbornness might prevent me from looking at things from a different angle. But we need to try new things and take risks if we want to change the situation and outwit our enemies.
A number of amazing and surprising things happened that day. Firstly, Ratan had taken someone's side, intervening in earthly affairs. That was not lost on the wisest of the dozen. There must have been some reason. Secondly, after 6 months of arguments and 6 months of mourning, the dozen agreed to hold off on making a decision about Devi's future. They gave her 3 years to study business management and every other necessary subject, and 1 more year of practice during which she had to prove that she was capable of doing the job. Kamal, as the person closest to Kairas, took over the affairs of the Sharma family in the meantime, also becoming a support to Devia. Like I said, it would only make sense considering that he was close to her brother. He was assigned to be her temporary guardian, like I said, and mentor until she took over the management of her own family, or rather, if she took over. We're gonna take over if I have a say in this. 1900 present day. The assistant was most probably already waiting for them in the hall. Kamal turned to Devia.
While we were waiting, I will explain to you the details of the meeting we're about to attend. But before you leave, you have to put something on.
What is it? Kamal was holding a dark blue velvet box, the color of the Sharma family.
This is new, but it's even better this way. Kai's ring wouldn't fit you, and part of me is glad it remained with its owner.
He looked down. He didn't want Davy to catch the glimmer of grief in his brown eyes. Oh, wow. Beautiful. It was a golden ring with a falcon, a noble predatory bird, the symbol of their family, Davy's family, whose fate rested upon her shoulders.
Let me help you.
He pulled out the ring from the box and held out his hand. Gently placing her fingertips against his palm, Davy whispered, I can't believe it. Is it really mine?
It's yours, Miss Sharma. You deserve it.
With those words, Kamal slid the ring on Davy's thumb. What if I actually don't deserve it? What if I ruin everything? We have to try, girl. We have to try. But I love that we see like this kind of growth in her. What I don't like is that the story, in my eyes at least, like you can tell me what you feel. I have the feeling that the story is like you can be like a little bit selfish, arrogant, and a bit childish if you want to be capable to be seen as a worthy leader. Like, I can manage family affairs, I can be responsible, I can be thoughtful, I can show my intellect with other people, and I can show restraint at the perfect time. I can be capable of all those personality traits, but I can also have this other side to me, being witty, being humorful, being capable to have the slack side, like not taking everything too important, as in being too serious. Like, I can have those sides too. This story right now, in this particular circumstances, they're trying in a certain sense to show that if you have like this more slack side to you, you're not fit to be a ruler. Why? I can be both. Like, just because I show more the slack side doesn't mean that I can't have this like calm and collective side to me. What I do like what they did with Davy's grow up is that they like made her think a little bit more about other people, as in she worries a lot more about her responsibilities. She wants to honor her brother because she doesn't think that she deserves to be the head of the family, because she has always given her brother a bad time, yet he always had like the heart to be by her side. Now he was killed and she wasn't, and she has the feeling it should be the other way around, because he did a good job. He was responsible, he was thoughtful, and he had a good heart. And she always like taking everything not so serious, her saying that he's exaggerating, and her taking in a certain sense advantage of her brother's good graces and his good heart. She feels that she doesn't deserve to wear the heirloom, because she's like, he did everything right. He was the perfect leader for the Sharma family. Now he is dead and I had to take over because I am the next in line technically, even though I am a woman and in the Sharma family it's only supposed to be a man. And I don't feel like I deserve to lead this because I haven't really shown, not even to my brother, that I would deserve to be the ruler. So I think that mostly she did everything in her power to learn, and she's trying her best to be the ruler of her family because she wants to honor her brother. And that's kind of what made her become more calm and collected in the first place. But you can be both, you know. She's right now worried because she's like scared. If I didn't do my best, what will that mean? Like, I will have disappointed my brother. Like, in a certain sense, she is telling herself he was counting on me. Like, when he isn't the one leading it, it should be me. But what if I'm not capable enough? What if I'm not good enough and I can't prove to others that I'm worthy of leading his? What if I'm not worthy enough to fill in his footsteps? And I love that they're like showing this because it's showing a lot of growth as well. Like, she's worried, and it shows also the love she had for her brother that we didn't quite see that much in the beginning. He winked at her.
Don't worry, I'm here for you. You won't ruin anything.
Kamal is trying to trust you. Aww. Davy's well-being had become one of Kamal's top priorities. His best friend had died, leaving his sister unprotected. It was a matter of honor.
Everyone around you should treat you as the head of your family. This ring will help.
But I haven't been appointed as the head of the family yet, and time is running out.
You will be. We really need the Sharma family right now. Things aren't going so well in Bengal.
He was talking about the clashes that broke out between the British Empire and India after the fatal fire. Oh, alright. He fine.
Carriage is writing, Mr. Rai. But I have some news. Arat, there you are. I'm listening.
Arad approached Davy and bowed curtly. He had been assigned by Kamal to be her main assistant. Aww. As the head of her family, Davy needed someone to execute her orders and accompany her during business trips. Oh, that means we will see him around a lot. Okay.
The British lord you arranged to meet at the Sharma family mines is asking to postpone the meeting for an hour.
Postpone the meeting? He was the one begging us. He wanted to see our mines so much. I was told he kept asking, how does it work? Show me, take me there. Devi had a little desire to do business with the British, but over the past 5 years, she'd gotten used to putting her pride aside. She had learned to keep quiet if she had to. What did I say? That's like the kind of traits that you have when you actually were struck by a very horrible fate and it changed you. It traumatized you that much. You needed time to heal, and that's when you started to grow up. But you can have both. And I love that they're also showing it right now, so I have to take it back a little. She is still insanely prideful. Like, that's not something that she completely threw aside. She's still like that. But she grew. She had learned to keep quiet if she had to play along, to nod respectfully, even if she wanted to speak out. In a word, she learned to do everything possible for the benefit of her family.
The Lord sends his deepest apologies. I hope you will still sign the deal, so that you will have another important customer.
War is war, but I need to ensure we have enough resources to improve the situation. This is one of the dozens tests. I can't disappoint them. They challenged me. I'd be surprised if they're not betting on how soon I'm going to fail. Ooh, some choices increase your legacy or freedom points. Okay, you guys, which one do you prefer? A character who values legacy will be more willing to perform her duty, carefully planning her moves. Her goal is to lead the Sharma family to success. A character who craves freedom will reject rules and formalities. Her priority will be her own happiness and the well-being of her friends. Ooh. Y'all, this is gonna be a fight for me because I'm both of these choices. Like, I feel you need to be capable to balance both. So this is gonna be, wow, fine, it's just a deal, annoying. Right now, it's my duty. I can't let our resources deplete because of my own hostility. Whoever this lord is, if he's interested in gemstones, the Sharma family is open to working with him. If he doesn't play with fire.
You're doing a great job in your brother's place.
Thank you.
Remember that you're responsible for your entire family. That's what should guide your actions. Be respectful when making deals no matter what.
Now I understand why my brother taught me humility. After all, it wasn't me who got punished for all my mistakes, but him. I'll have to put my pride aside and wait for this lord. But the thought alone disgusts me. Ara turned to Devi.
Would you like to spend this hour's wait with the Basu family? They're inviting you to lunch.
Really? I guess I want to see Saraswati. Of course, we're gonna be the bike queen. I'm so sorry. Mr. Girls have nothing else to do anyway. To be quite honest, I miss both of them. Oh god, which one should I take? I miss the girls because I miss both of them. I've been so busy that I lost track of time. I even stopped attending the services. I haven't seen those two Rakshasas for so long. Rakashi is the female form of an evil spirit in Hinduism. Like I said, we're saying these two are two devils.
You better not let Vidya hear you.
Oops! Sorry, ma'am. She would understand I'm saying this with love. Love it. Okay, she's still remaining the sassy queen. Love it. You're trying to strengthen your friendship with the twins. Arat smiled.
I will prepare a carriage for you to ride alone. Are you two going together? No. Go alone. I need to pay a visit to Mohan Prasad. He invited me to discuss some issues.
Alright, finally you've given me permission to sort things out by myself. Maybe this still won't be so unpleasant. Love it. Devi turned away. As she was about to head to the door, Kamal deftly caught her hand, stopping her. What's wrong? The unexpected touch surprised her, but she managed to keep her expression impassive as she turned to him. What's the matter?
I haven't given you permission. Don't sign the deal without me. I'll pick you up and we'll go there together.
Do you think I'm not ready? Devi batted her eyelashes. I knew she... That's why I talked like that. She is me, y'all. She's completely me. Oh, God. We will see, though. We will see. As of right now, she's me. Devi batted her eyelashes, but Kamal shook his head displeased.
Devi, I'm being serious.
I'm being serious too, sir. You think I can handle it? I was just joking. It's obvious that you wouldn't let me go there alone. But if you're going to be late, then... She could see how serious he was. Me, girl! Tease him to filth! She could see how serious he was, but that only made her want to tease him more. We want a very uptight man, y'all. Not completely uptight, but like the sensitive, nice guy. Because we know that deep down, it's a devil. sexy, he is savage, and seeing like this uptight, calm person in front of us, we just want to do everything to break down his defenses, because as soon as we do that, he will be demanding, he will be dominant, he will be lustful. We want to break down his defenses. She always hid her nervousness behind a smile. Kamal was the only one who could forgive her such silliness. What? Don't you trust me?
I don't like the look in your eyes.
What's wrong with the look in my eyes? Let me wink. Wink, wink. He kept holding her hand.
I will let you go until you promise to wait for me.
Yes, sir. Davy squeezed his hand. Yes, sir. She looked up at Kamal with a grin. Don't take too long, and I will definitely wait for you.
Wait for me no matter what. I'm serious, Miss Sharma, or we'll argue.
Please, watch me from behind, baby. He wouldn't let her go. I didn't mean to make you angry, but you've been preparing me for this deal for the last 2 days. I thought it was because you were sending me there alone.
I'll risk you messing it up because of your inexperience.
Excuse you, sir? I mean, for 2 days? Like, come on now, but sooner or later we will have to do it ourselves. So that's what you think of me? Kamal couldn't help but smile at her feigned surprise. The corners of his lips twitched and his serious facade instantly shattered. He turned away, trying to assume a stern expression again, but Davy was already laughing. Stop nagging me. I'm serious too. I'm 23, and I'm too old to be treated like a child being told off by a parent. Kamal pursed his lips, relaxing his fingers. He let go of her hand.
I'm not your parent. Believe me, you wouldn't like how strict I am if I were.
That's what a sugar daddy says. That's what a sugar daddy says.
Is it alright for you to listen to your mentor's advice? Or is 23 too old for that too?
Yes, ma'am. Davy chuckled, crossing her arms. I hear you, mentor. I promise to wait for you. Kamal appreciates you, among other things, because you can make him smile.
We have a deal. Maria's eager to go alone. You didn't want to do this in the first place.
She wants to show that she can. Since I have to, I want to do it myself and show the dozen that I'm capable of that.
No, that's final.
I heard you. Davy and Arad headed out. Kamal told them not to wait for him. Yeah, bye-bye. Lunch at the Bazoo residence meant meeting with the twins. Devya was expecting to learn all the latest news about the dozen, what they'd been doing over the past month, where and with whom. Radha and Saraswati supported Devi's dedication to mastering all the business skills she needed. They respected her goal and didn't bother her. But a lot had changed after the fire in the Himalayas, and the young members of the elite families had even fewer ways of entertaining themselves. Devya wasn't any different. She didn't have anything to distract herself with. Like most of the others, she led a reclusive life, occasionally going out for walks or for services to the goddess Ma Kali. Festivals, pujas, receptions, everything was lost and forgotten. A lunch together was one of the few things that added variety to their monotonous routine. Even the view from the window seems to have changed. Where have all the callers of my beloved city gone?
You seem done, miss. Are you worried about the deal?
I was thinking of the old days. Calcutta has changed a lot over the past 5 years. Arat nodded in understanding. He knew what his mistress had been through.
As long as you don't get in their way, your family will be safe.
Me? Am I the one getting in the way? In my own country? Damn! And I shouldn't look them in the eye. Mine will be, but there are hundreds of thousands of other families. To be quite honest, I feel like I should have to say this. Maybe we should give away all our money and valuables and our houses too. Will we be safe then? God forbid we bother them. Ooh. Devi felt her blood beginning to boil. No, those emotions were inappropriate. She tried to calm herself down.
Oh, did I upset you?
No, honey. We're trying to get out some steam. Of course, the thought of revenge often crossed her mind. Devi had every reason to hate the foreigners, and the situation around her only fueled her hatred. Public executions had become more frequent, taxes were 3 times higher, and there were countless acts of violence happening. Like a corona. Like in corona times. Okay. The colonialists had also taken over all local production. Both sides hated each other. That's like hilarious. We both hate each other, but we're still working together. This is like something I would have to say it will take time for me if I would be in a situation like this. The reason that two people that hate each other are capable to work together is not because they want to or because they see a future, but because they're thinking of the bigger picture. You have something that I want and I have something that you want. So we will have to find some common ground. We don't need to love each other. We just need to be capable to exchange all the supplies so that we can be capable to keep our city running. They spread all kinds of stories about their enemies, dehumanizing them and portraying them as cruel beasts. The British were said to be godless and lawless slaves of their queen, nothing but oppressors and sadists. Damn! They were greatly offended when the fire at the mountain residence was blamed on them. Well, what do you expect? We were in a secluded area before your sorry ass came and shot us. The Indians were said to be savages who went against both human and divine rules. Damn! They had been firmly blaming the British for the arson. Both sides suspected and accused each other, and the truth was lost in the confusion. The traitors were never found. Doesn't the dozen condemn those who cooperate with them? They're bleeding us dry with their taxes and by privatizing our production. How can I be expected to trade with them?
The current hostility is not an easy matter, but it shouldn't affect trade. Everyone wants to keep their social status, so we can afford to turn away new customers. Mohan Prasad's wife died in the fire, and yet he smiles at the British customers as broadly as at anyone else. Money's money.
Oh yeah, like I said, everything that you need in order to keep the city running. Devi wanted to keep arguing, but she knew it was useless. Continuing the conversation would only make Arad feel comfortable, as he wouldn't dare contradict her any further. I kind of feel bad for the assistants, because in general, they know that the person in front of them is insanely powerful. And considering the fact that they know that they're extremely powerful, they are scared of telling them off because they have the power to make them disappear. There was no point in bickering. 3 years of training her self-control and patience had taught her when it was best to keep quiet. That's like something I want to give out to all of you. I'm gonna use me as an example for that. Considering the fact that I'm insanely impulsive and very headstrong, like I have a very strong opinion, I rarely back down from that opinion, but I always have like good intentions at heart. And a lot of people, considering the fact of how I tackle the problem, they don't see the good intention at first. And when the conversation gets heated up, I prefer to be silent because I think a wise person should know when to shut up. Because when you are insanely heated, that is with every single human being. It doesn't mean necessarily that you have to be impulsive or headstrong. As soon as a conversation gets heated between two people, no matter if one of the two people is impulsive or headstrong or not, they will always say something that they could regret if they talk when they feel insanely heated inside. So you should know when to shut up. The rest of the ride was spent in silence. As she stepped into the spacious and lavishly decorated garden, Devya was greeted by the most beautiful of its flowers, Saraswati. Cute. Sitting in front of an easel, she turned around at the sound of footsteps. The rays of the midday sun caressed her beautiful face, illuminating her bright amber eyes. The younger heiress' lips stretched into a smile as she quickly got to her feet. Aww, she's so pretty.
Look who's here.
Your cooks are famous for their talents. How could I refuse an invite for lunch?
You'll have to wait a little, but it's almost ready.
Devi rushed into Sara's arms, her cheek brushing her thick dark hair. Years had passed, but Sara still wore the same custom perfume. That blueberry fragrance was Saraswati's signature scent.
Are you getting used to your new role? You're all dressed up.
There's plenty of men in the dozen who dream of stopping me, of course. What if they're right? Nope. I won't let that happen. Mine. That's mine. My role. My responsibility. I can do this. The fire already took my brother. Should I let it take my inheritance too?
Won't happen. Mother is on your side.
After all, we did save her, like I said. That's not enough. I won't be able to always rely on your mother. They have to make this choice themselves out of respect for me. Not out of fear of Vidya Bazu.
That's true.
Devya stopped talking, her eyes wide. No, wait. The truth is that I'm fed up with the affairs of the estate. She drew her finger swiftly across her throat. Her responsibilities almost physically smothered her. Tell me, what's going on in your life? What are you painting? Looking at the canvas with interest, Davy saw a lemon tree.
Nothing special. I'm just killing time, hiding in the garden while my mother is looking for me all over the...
How's Miss Bazoo? Is she doing well? Saraswati nodded fervently. She hadn't forgotten that Davy was the one who saved Vidya's life. Yeah. Why is she looking for you?
Mother is concerned that the family of the Dozen are not forming new alliances. She is sure it's weakening us.
All engagements and agreements among the Dozen had been indefinitely postponed. The families were afraid of betrayal and suspected everyone of conspiracy. Someone must have led those mercenaries to the residence. Everyone was whispering about it. Did that mean there was a traitor among them? They were afraid of giving their daughter to a family that could be involved in a secret conspiracy. And what if their only heir married someone who turned out to be part of the trap? Just like the girl they wanted to marry off to the Lord? Weakening us? Is she thinking of marrying off one of you? But to whom? Sarah grimaced at Davy's words. She never had any particular affection for any of the heirs. Other girls pined for Drash, Kamal, Ram, Same, or Erit. Erit? But no, Saraswati! Saraswati says I am not for man! No one in the Dozen is in a hurry to arrange any marriages when the situation is so volatile. Sara smiled sadly as she returned to her easel. She sat down with her back straight, saying thoughtfully,
Maybe things will never feel safe again. Soon they will realize this and get back to how things were done. Many are afraid of suffering the same fate that has befallen your family, Devi. Family left without its head. As soon as they realize that the situation in India is only getting worse, they will rush to get married, have children, establish connections. Just as they did before, their fire only caused a slight hitch.
Devi held out her hand. Hug her. I feel like she needs that. Unexpectedly, even to herself, she gently put her hands on Saraswati's shoulders. Sara's brush froze for a second, but then she kept moving it across the canvas with the same confidence. Yes, but you're not just anyone. You're Saraswati Basu. There's hardly a man in the world who would dare hurt you.
Hurt me?
I'm just thinking about the worst possible outcome. What's the worst thing that could happen to you even if you get married? Sarah turned to her friend and replied, her voice serious.
Being married is already the worst possible outcome.
Devi smiled nervously in response to Sarah's ringing laughter. Of course Saraswati was joking. Sometimes she speaks with such a serious expression on her face that I can help but believe her. You're...
What?
Without saying anything, Devi leaned on her friend's back, wrapping her in a hug. Saraswati loved slapping her hand, but Devi just squeezed her tighter. You are you, crazy and unique.
Me, crazy?
Very much so, girl. Devi leaned on Sarah's shoulder, clinging to her arm. She peered at the picture that her friend was painting. Lemons? Do you like them in particular?
They're just beautiful and bright. That's just what we need right now.
We need lemons? How often do you think about their beauty? Devi laughed, but Saraswati wasn't smiling. When their eyes met, Devi's laughter died down. An unspoken thought flashed in Sarah's eyes, but Devi sensed it wasn't something she wanted to discuss. But she also knew that the thought would vanish if she kept laughing it off.
I always seem to notice things that others don't. Everything is grey and dull. People are angry at each other like a pack of rabid dogs. They're surrounded by suspicion, not love. Curses, not laughter. Twist their lips. What's the point of life if it is devoid of all pleasure?
Devi pulled away, looking at her. Sarah put down her brush. What's troubling you? This is clearly not about lemons.
I just feel sad, anxious, and I don't understand where things are going.
Devi no longer felt like laughing. Looking at Saraswati's worried face, she felt angry. Angry at the circumstances that made her friend feel sad and scared. For some reason, that thought infuriated Divya. Don't worry, it's not over yet. We'll figure it out.
Wait.
If I become the head of my family, then I will also have a say. I will be able to solve problems and propose new ideas. I'll be able to protect you from anything. Aww. Devi smiled and Saraswati smiled back at her, trusting her words. Saraswati likes you much more than the other hairs. Aww, thank you. Accidentally drawing the brush across her friend's hand, Sarah left a dark stripe on it. Ah!
Your words made me so happy that my hand started shaking.
course. Would you like me to give you a mehndi? Please. What's this painting? Don't you have henna? Maybe I do. Let me check. After rummaging through her painting supplies, Saraswati took out a small jar and raised it triumphantly. I have some. Come here. Where should I sit? On your lap? Sit down next to me or it will be uncomfortable. We can talk about you sitting on my lap another time. Oh my god, the flirting! The flirting! Oh, I love it. Devi did as she was told. The thin, wet tip of Saraswati's paintbrush grazed her skin. It tickled her as it left ornate patterns on her hands. 20 minutes passed, or maybe more, and Devi shifted in her seat. Stop squirming, I'm done. Saraswati has given you a mehndi. Let's go. Amazing. And you painted this beauty so easily? Well, I did my best. For you. Aww. Suddenly, Sarah jumped up from her seat, agitated. I completely forgot. I have something you asked me for. Me? She called her maid and told her to bring a certain gift. A few minutes later, the woman returned. Here you go. Don't ask me how I managed to get this. With careful movement, Saraswati handed Devi an impressive box, decorated with luxurious embossing. What is in it? For a moment, Devi couldn't remember what it could be. But then she asked enthusiastically, Did you get me some riding clothes? Yes, since now everyone is paying attention to you as the head of the family, you have to look the part. Path of passion. Is it just my impression, or are people expecting more from me than from anyone else? No, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, because you're the first woman in the Sharma family to be in charge, or trying to be in charge. So they are testing you in a worst way. But what can you do? To become the head of the family, I need to study all the necessary subjects, demonstrating my knowledge and proof that I'm fit for the job. What do the other heirs do to deserve their position? Be born? Some people's achievements enter. A stern voice rang out behind them. Vidya. Is this what you usually do? She looks so beautiful, though. The two young women turned to face Vidya. Spend your time judging other people. Devi jumped to her feet and bowed to the head of the dozen respectfully. Miss Bazoo, are you worried we may hurt their sensitive feelings? We're only discussing the imperfections of the system. Yeah. That's all. It seems that there are things that could be improved upon. Vidya grinned and nodded. Indeed there are, and important ones. But it's in your best interest to keep quiet about them for the rest of the year if you don't want to make the man of the dozen your enemies. After all, they are the ones who will decide your fate. Ooh, legacy! Oh, let's go! Thank you. I've been keeping that in mind for several years now. A maid entered the garden. Vidya snapped her fingers, pointing to the easel. Take that away and you can tell them to set the table. The maid did as she was told, and Devi and Saraswati followed Vidya inside the house. How does Saraswati look? They entered a lavishly decorated hall. It was cool there, in the half-light. It was nice to hide from the heat of the day, sit on soft pillows, and enjoy the scent of incense. Radha was standing in the center of the hall reading a letter. Finally, Radha. Her tenacious brown eyes were focused on it, but she still noticed someone else's presence. Oh, wow. Okay, Radha. Okay. As Devi arrived, she raised her head, looking at her mother, sister, and the guest. Devi. Get the letter out of my sight. I can't stand seeing a piece of paper anymore. The two women hugged, laughing, happy to have a chance to see each other. Radha hadn't been any less busy all those years. After the fire, Vidya seriously considered handing over the reins to her older daughter. She was now halfway to taking her mother's place and leading the dozen, but Devi had also heard worrying rumors that Radha was devoting a lot of her time to something else. Some people suspect her of having a secret relationship. Great, Ma Kali, let it not be rushed by. She's come to her senses, hasn't she? No, she hasn't. Let her be happy. Devi had decided to stay out of it. She had enough on her mind already. Make yourself at home. They're preparing something special for lunch. I'll tell the maid that our precious miss is here. They're rooting for you. Maybe that will make them cook better. Ooh! They've been lazy lately. Vidya. People had started to call Devi a precious miss because of the Sharma mines, famous for their precious stones. Devi was expected to manage them, although in the future. Why are they rooting for me?
They believe that the situation will change once you're in charge. Ordinary people mirror their lives to ours. Seeing the most influential men entrust you with the affairs of the Sharma family, they also began giving women more freedom. Although some don't like it.
Suddenly, Arad appeared in the doorway, interrupting them. He bowed.
Good afternoon, Miss Bazoo. Mr. Rai has just arrived to see you. Kamal, is it already time to go close that deal? I think this is not about the deal.
Without letting him finish, Devi rushed into the hallway.
Bad news.
Uh-oh. Kamal, who was waiting for them, immediately spoke to Devi. He didn't look happy, which made her worry something could have happened to Mr. Prasad, with whom Kamal had spent the last hour.
What's the matter? Weren't you in a hurry to close that deal? Vidya, we need to talk. I have some bad news.
Shouldn't you talk to me? If he's talking to Vidya, then that means that it's insanely important. She's the head of the dozen, so You should talk to all of us. I'd like to know too. Did something bad happen? Devya spoke loud enough so that everyone could hear, even if she knew Kamal wanted to step aside with Vidya to have a quiet word. But Devi needed to know, especially if it concerned her family, whether it was about a deal or something else important. Please don't scare me. Kamal crossed his arms, grinning.
Are you really that scared? Who would have thought?
Dignity!
I'll tell you everything.
Sometimes you need to speak up. You're quite good at it. Thank you. Like, should you speak to me? No, I'm not taking myself that serious. Besides, it still hasn't been decided if we're the head yet. And if he wants to talk to Vidya, then that means that it concerns all of the dozen members, in my eyes at least. So we shouldn't make ourselves that important. At least that's how I see it.
I'll tell you everything so you won't worry so much.
Radha and Saraswati joined the conversation. Kamal wasn't going to be able to keep that a secret.
One of the Mahan's old friends wrote to him. He belongs to the dozen, but he has been traveling.
Traveling?
Yes, he's the second son, so his eldest brother inherited everything. He wrote that he's planning to visit Calcutta very soon, on some business.
Great gods, Kamal, enough. Get to the point. He said grimly.
His name is Anil Sharma. He's your uncle Devi. I'm not even sure you ever met each other after the death of your father. He left the city in Karas was made the heir.
The twins exchanged glances. Everyone was beginning to realize what he was getting at.
Devi is alone. Anil Sharma is the closest male heir.
So this bitch is coming here just in order to, replace us. Oh, this little bastard.
Devi is alone. Anil Sharma is the closest male heir who could claim his right to take her brother's place.
Sarah realized what her mother was saying.
But everyone agreed to wait to give her time. Would they go back on their decision? Devi is still in her trial period. If they find out about Mr. Sharma's return, they could hinder her on purpose and give the estate to Anil.
Those words fell heavily on Devi's heart. She didn't want to take them seriously. Some long-lost relative who didn't even write to her. Was he truly dangerous? He could have had more rights to the inheritance, and Devi's fate would fall into her uncle's hands. She turned to Kamal. Is he coming here? Anil, my uncle? Do you think he wants to take everything from me? Kamal nodded, frowning. Everyone knew how fervently he supported Devya, and how hard he tried to ensure she would inherit the estate.
Miss Bazoo, can we talk?
My office. This is a delicate matter. What about the deal? That lord will be at the mines soon.
He can wait. This is more important. Get ready for it, Devi. While we talk, you need to secure a major customer, a British patron. Otherwise, the other lords will think that the mines are left unattended and everything will be taken away from you. If a British man becomes your customer, no one will dare to cross him. You're better off selling the stones to him than giving them away for free. Am I making myself clear?
Kamal and Vidya left. Radha remained calm, pointing out dryly.
Mother won't let that happen. She's on your side.
But why?
She'd rather have you under her wing than a stranger. Besides, she cares about your fate. You saved her life, remember?
Devi was nervous. We're going to be late. What will that pompous lord think? Arad had remained there with his mistress and said with a smile,
He'll have to wait if he wants to get his hands on those gems.
Your priority? Legacy. Vidya Basu was right. Devi needed to arrange a trade deal with someone among the British expatriates, or she risked losing everything. Besides, if Anil Sharma joined the game, she'd have to compete with him and prove that she was more worthy to lead the family. Demonstrating her business skills by closing a successful deal was her best option. She couldn't be late for such an important meeting. But to be quite honest, this is bullshit. Because they would be willing to shoot Devi to the moon and allow a stranger that hasn't been in the family affairs forever just because he's a male. And they're gonna completely ignore all the hard work that Devi put into becoming the head. Are you kidding me? What should I do? Rush there? I have to make it. You have to help me. I have to make it. We can't come across as disrespectful, as if we don't care about his visit. What if he gets offended? Mrs. Bazu's right, I need a patron. Those greedy Rakshasas steal everything they can. I won't let them take away my family mines. Period. Pride. Are you going to go there to buy yourself some time? Something like that. I need a plan. Ara tensed up. Do you plan on going there alone? Would you come with me, Radha? You've been taught these things since childhood. Radha smiled, a hint of regret in her eyes. I'm sorry, I don't know how to write, and the only way you'll make it in time is if you go on horseback. I'll come with you. Fortunately, I also studied with Radha and I know a lot. Plus, I'm not afraid to write. Will you really do that? I'm nervous, so I'll help you. Or are you planning not to close the deal? Do you just want to stall until Kamal arrives? I'll buy ourselves some time, make conversation so that he doesn't get angry and leave. I was afraid that I would have to justify myself too. But I'll try to close the deal too. Arat massaged his temple. He couldn't stop Devya from doing what she wanted, but he'd have to answer to Kamal afterwards. Yes, he would, because technically it's his job to not make her do stupid decisions. And I understand why Kamal is like, you don't close the deal alone. But this is important. Like, this is necessary for her. And if she wants to show the others in the dozen that she can take over her brother's tasks, then it doesn't matter if her uncle comes around. In my eyes, at least. But I don't know how they would be doing all of this. Maybe they would be like, I don't care. The head of the Sharma family needs to be a man, so he's technically next in line considering he's a man, so he will take over it all. But in my eyes, I think that the hard work should be taken into consideration, not just the name. Don't worry, Arat. I'll say I sneaked away. You'll get in trouble for this. I won't get you involved. This is my risk to take. She smiled at him, but he only frowned harder to have his mistress stand up for him. I will not leave you to deal with this alone. It's fine. I'll just be honest and tell him that we went there together. Devi couldn't hold back a smile. She'd instantly got on with Arat when they met. His presence didn't annoy her, unlike many others of those who worked for her. He's an adventurous one, I see. The blush. Does he have a thing for Saraswati? You have my full support. Show them how it's done. I love Radha. Her outfit is beautiful. You decided to deal with it all by yourself. Let's see how that plays out. Oh god. There was no time to lose. Devi decided to change into the riding clothes Saraswati got for her. Then the three of them would ride to the Sharma mines. Devi was already anticipating mounting Deimos and rushing toward the first business deal of her life. Arat, please pass me the box. I'll show you where you can change. Radha took her to a small room and then promised to find a delicate way to break the news to Kamal and her mother. Okay. You will wear it when necessary. Alright. Nice one. Ooh. Nah. I think I'm gonna go with the second one. I like this the most. Without any further delay, they all quietly left the residence. We're sneaking away. Goodbye, bitches. We will be very careful. Devya was in a great mood. The twins' support boosted her confidence, and now that she was wearing comfortable, beautiful clothes and riding her beloved horse, it seemed to her that everything was going to go well. If she managed to close that deal, it would prove to everyone that she was worth something and they would finally leave her alone. Saraswati was riding on Deimos behind her, holding on tight. She was wearing a light cape so as not to attract too much attention. The Bazoo Harrises weren't supposed to leave their estate as it could cause issues, but Sara insisted on it. And it was better for her to ride with Davia than with a man she barely knew. She could have lost her head for that, as her mother would have found out for sure. Why should I stand in the way of her rebellion? Maybe Saraswati is trying to prove something to her mother. But I'm just happy that she's coming with me. When they arrived, Devi deftly jumped off the horse, but Sara hesitated. Let Arad help her. I mean, I don't think it's bad if I help her down, but considering the fact that she is a love interest, maybe she will see it as something more, maybe. So, you know what? I'm just gonna let Arad help her, because I've never ridden a horse before, but it could turn out very difficult to help someone come down from the horse. So I'm just gonna let him help her down. Devi automatically stepped away from the horse, letting Arad get closer. Then she started taking off her gloves while her assistant gallantly helped Saraswati down. Thank you. Sara smiled at him briefly and immediately turned away to look at the landscape, but Arad was visibly flustered. He has the hots for Saraswati. Y'all. Oh, I think I'm a matchmaker. It was hardly surprising. Almost everyone reacted to Saraswati's smile in that way. You too, girl? Arad went to tie up the horses. As Deimos snorted at him, he almost jumped back. Few people could get along with that wild beast, but it only made Devi love him more. I'm the only one that can touch Deimos. I don't see anyone. Maybe the meeting was set at another mine? No, this is the most profitable one. What would be the point of showing him another one? But you're right, maybe he's running even later than he was?
I thought he must have been here already. After all, we're the ones being late.
Do you know his name? Maybe I've heard about him.
Mr. I didn't tell me, but he mentioned that he's a very important man.
Devi crossed her arms. She began tapping her foot impatiently.
Hey, look.
A woman was walking toward them. As she spotted them, she raised her eyebrows in surprise and quickened her pace. Okay. She was definitely not a local. She bowed slightly and greeted them in English.
Good afternoon. Are you Miss Sharma?
The stranger addressed Devi directly. There was no doubt that she was the future head of the Sharma family. Devi was dressed in expensive but tasteful clothes, had immediately given her guest an appraising look, and had waited to be greeted first. The stranger looked at Devi's companions. The other young woman didn't look much like the head of a family, and as soon as she had seen her approaching, she had stepped behind the man with a slightly anxious look in her eyes. That's right, it's me. Dignity! Saraswati was right. The head of family should always look impeccable. Ooh.
My name is Diana Brown. I'm the Lord's assistant.
Devi looked at her doubtfully. Path of passion, and she didn't hesitate to voice her thoughts. But you're a lady.
I'm not a lady, Miss Sharma, but simply one of the Lord's valets. I do what he asked me for, and I'm good at my job.
Is that so? Your Lord seems to have a rather uncommon outlook on things.
Indeed, you have no idea. Shall we get closer to the mines? I've already examined everything here.
Devi nodded. She started walking first, as she was the owner and everyone else followed her. What is going on? Devia took her watch out of her pocket. She shook her head, looking at the time. The Lord seems to be running late. Have you lost him along the way, or are you here alone? Suddenly a tall male silhouette appeared at the entrance to the mines. Oh my god! Who is this? Is this the Lord? Is this the British Lord? Oh my god! Look at this finest man. Y'all, this is a new look. I need to get used to this look. Like, he kind of... I feel like it's an insult if I say it like this, but he actually reminds me of Johnny Depp in The Scissoring. If that's the name of the show. Like the man with the scissors hands. Oh god, I can't get rid of that picture now. Damn.
The Lord has been waiting for you, and for quite a while, I must say.
Huh? A tall, broad-shouldered man dressed in riding clothes was walking towards them. It wasn't difficult for him to guess which one of the women was the one he was meant to do business with. David looked at his face, frowned, and couldn't shake off a strange feeling. They had met before. His face looked so similar. Not as if they had just passed each other in the streets, but as if they exchanged a conversation.
You are Miss Davia Sharma, the future heiress of your estate, am I correct?
Yes, you are. That smile, gods, I swear I remember him. Who is she? She's blushing! Diana didn't immediately introduce the Lord, contrary to what she should have done, but they weren't back home, and there were no British ladies present, so she had clearly chosen to disregard the rules of etiquette. Thoughts of lords and ladies brought back some memories. This is the man I saw in that field 5 years ago when I ran into Ian. His name was Ian. A gear started turning in Davy's head. If there was a very important lord in front of her right at that moment whose name she wasn't even told, probably so as not to shock her. And if he really was Ian, the man from the field, his name definitely hinted at being Christian. So it was him. The Governor-General of West Bengal, the man who had held that position for the past 5 years. Do I have the honor of speaking to Lord de Clare?
Who gave me away? What a pity. I had asked to remain anonymous.
No, babe, I know you. Don't worry, no one betrayed your trust. I'm just perceptive. Dignity! I'm so sorry. You guessed who Ian was long ago. Your assumption proved true. The Lord grinned, nodding.
A wonderful quality for someone who's preparing to take on such a great responsibility.
Devya remained calm, but couldn't hold back her surprise. Sarah had the same expression on her face. Dove had suddenly realized just what they had done. They were told to wait, but they escaped and ended up meeting the most powerful British person in their country, aside from the Queen of England herself. The only way to avoid Vidya and Kamal's wrath was to successfully close the deal, or at least stall for time. She needed to test the waters. Oh no! Saraswati tried to help salvage the situation and smiled disarmingly.
Welcome to the famous Sharma Mines, Lord de Clare. My name is Saraswati Basu. Basu? Would I be right in assuming you are one of the heiresses of the most important family in the city? Why are you here today, if I may ask? I'm keeping my dearest friend company. Her work is very important. You've heard all about it, I assume.
She hinted at my status and showed him that it's prestigious to cooperate with me. Thank you, Sarah.
About a trial period. Yes, it was mentioned to me.
Devya decided to put an end to the pleasantries. Are you interested in our gemstones as an investment?
Very much so. I've heard there's nothing more profitable than the Sharma mines. Is that the truth?
Yes, we have no equal. Diana intervened in the conversation.
I've heard rumors that you were forced to close several mines in northern India. Is that true?
Yes, but we have acquired several other sites elsewhere that are even more profitable. Would you like to take a closer look at the mine, my lord?
Ooh, yes, please.
I can't, y'all. I can shake off this change in this man. Oh, God. I'll join you in just a moment. Christian was in no hurry to leave. Davy shot a look at Saraswati, beckoning her over. When she came closer, Davy asked quietly in Bengali. Bengali is a language native to the Bengal region and one of the most popular in the state.
What is it?
Distract Diana, she's getting in the way. Get her out.
Should I get rid of her?
I'm not kidding. Please sweet talk your way around her. She's distracting him.
I think she's trying to be prudent.
I don't need her to be prudent. I want to close the deal or we'll be in deep shit. I have the feeling he learned a little bit of Bengal. That would be so savage. Saraswati noticed his look. She replied briefly.
I understand. No need. I understand. No need to explain. I'll do it.
Really?
Why do you think I'm here?
I doubt Sarah will be severely punished. At least she'll have some fun. The younger heirs are rarely trusted with something like this. Saraswati is glad that you asked for her help. Go ahead and thank you. When Devya walked away with the Lord, Sarah caught Diane's eye, stopping her from following them. She asked in English,
Have you seen the garden in front of the mines yet? The one where we met. Yes, But I'm sure you haven't seen all of it.
Saraswati said the first thing that came to her mind, improvising.
The garden was built by a very important person. Have you heard about it?
All right. With his hands clasped behind his back, Christian watched her walk toward him. She was just as he had imagined she would be. He had heard many different rumors about her, some told with enthusiasm, some with skepticism. The British expatriates in Calcutta had their own narrow social circle, but even they were curious about the affairs of the dozen. Who had ever heard of such a young woman managing all her family's affairs? High dignity! Period. People speak highly of you. And yet there were many who believed in Devi. They were inspired by the idea of equality and that a young woman could run her business just as the men around her. Even the most conservative aristocrats were eager to see what would become of Devya Sharma's trial period, as her family had been supplying them with the best gemstones for decades. A good half of the British noble ladies wore jewelry made with those very stones. But it wasn't enough. Devi needed a constant and reliable customer, a patron. After seeing her with his own eyes, Christian formed a picture in his mind. Proud, opinionated, with a penetrating, cautious look in her eyes. She carried herself with confidence. He bravely thought he had met someone similar to her before, maybe even very similar. You see that we are the same woman, sir?
How many people work for you?
600 only in this part of India, damn.
Impressive. What are the main stones you mine?
Sapphires, rubies, diamonds, and emeralds, plus other gems of less value, such as amethyst and topazes. Christian continued to ask questions. Devi crossed her arms over her chest, forgetting about manners, and focused on discussing her family business. The Lord inspected the mine and the tools and then asked about financial reports. She answered all his questions in detail. Devi furtively turned around. Saraswati and Diana were talking about something while Arad was standing nearby, keeping an eye on both heiresses. Sara was skillfully keeping the valet distracted as promised. Damn, not valet.
It mostly depends on the weather. Do you understand? What would you recommend?
Devi turned to the Lord and asked calmly, trying to hide her anxiety. So, what do you think? Christian rubbed his chin, looking around the area.
It all sounds interesting. I must confess my curiosity about your precious stones was piqued when I noticed a beautiful necklace on a lady at one of my receptions.
Great. Maybe all is not lost yet, but where's Kamal?
Do you know what else I remember from that reception?
Devya shook her head. She felt that the conversation was veering onto an irrelevant topic, but she had heard that small talk was normal in European society. It was just for appearance's sake, of course, but come to think of it, wasn't it a waste of time?
People were talking about you.
About me? She looked at him, surprised. Christian observed her, interested. At the moment, Devi was sure he was the yin she met in that field. It seemed so clear that she was surprised she hadn't realized it right away.
Our friends told me about one of the heiresses of the dozen who, after her guardian's death, was given 3 years to study all sorts of business subjects usually reserved for men. My apologies. Is this a painful subject for you?
It's fine. My brother died a long time ago, and I turned my grief into motivation to work hard.
Do you have any other male relatives?
Devi pressed her lips tightly. That man was clearly trying her patience, but she couldn't afford to be rude to him. Besides, I doubt he's asking out of spite. He must be curious. I bet the ladies he knows spend their days sipping tea and embroidering. He's not used to women whose interests go beyond that. We're talking about my legacy. I won't let my relatives decide my fate. I don't need someone else to take what's mine. It's my legacy, I'm sorry. It belongs to me. It's mine. Why should I allow someone else to take what I worked so hard for? It's my legacy. If I literally allow someone else to take it, it would be like all the hard work of our brother would have been for nothing, because our entire estate would be going to someone else. As Lord Hertfordshire, you probably know how heavy such a burden can be. I could either give it away to someone else or take responsibility for it. My brother trusted me, and I'm sure he would have liked me to continue his work. Christian raised his eyebrows, nodded understandingly, and smiled.
Is that so? Your attitude deserves respect, Miss Sharma.
Lord de Clare tilted his head.
I remember you, but you didn't introduce yourself with your full name back then, did you?
Her heart skipped a beat. He remembered her. No, but neither do you.
Well, our second meeting has been no less interesting than our first.
Is that so? I'm sorry. They both must have left a very heavy impression on each other if both of them remember each other. Christian remembers that night too. Your determination is impossible to forget. Thank you. I remember you too. Devya smiled softly, remembering how the silver moonlight framed his silhouette that night. His dark hair, his incredibly smooth skin, and his bright blue eyes, and her feeling of fear and hostility, which was quickly replaced by curiosity and fun. Even back then, faithful to their ideals, they were on opposite sides. But the chasm between them seemed to have grown even bigger. Davy trusted the British even less than she did before. She knew there were probably good people among them, but her heart was blind in its grief and didn't care about expectations. Every time she found herself in the company of people like Christian, Davia's heart filled with worry and hatred. I mean, that's because she didn't actually have the time, or she didn't take the time to grieve. And if you don't take the time to grieve, it's in a certain sense like stress for you. It's stress for your body, and that also can lead to a burnout sooner or later. Because your body needs like that time to psychologically heal. And if you don't take it, it will sooner or later force you to take the time. Which means it's gonna make the psychological pain stick out more and more to the point where you can't ignore it. And that's what's happening to her. Like sooner or later there will come a time where she won't be capable to hide the hatred she feels as soon as she sees someone from the British colonies. Like she's struggling already enough as it is, even though she liked Christian from the get-go. Just knowing that he's from Britain is already enough for her to feel this resentment. And if she should come across someone that she can't stand from the British colony, she won't mind actually telling them off, because she's not taking time to actually deal with it. And yet he was being polite and respectful, just as he had been back then. Davy liked him, but only slightly. Before meeting you, I had seldom spoken English, especially along with a man. I remember that night well.
If someone overheard our conversation, they could misunderstand your words.
A short velvet soft laugh escaped from his broad chest.
I remember it well too. I just arrived in Calcutta, and I hadn't spoken to any of the nobles yet, and certainly not to someone from the famous influential Dawson.
Devi remembered the argument between Kamal and Kairas in the carriage as they were driving toward the mountain residence 5 years ago. Kamal was sure that the Governor-General had arrived earlier in secret, but Kairas tried to convince him otherwise. You were mistaken, brother, and not for the last time. Devya quickly curled her lips into a polite smile. How much do you know about our society?
I know enough. People collaborate with some of your families. That's why I came up with the idea of investigating and chose you.
Me?
Your business. Lying is not something I'm accustomed to, so I'll be honest. I was curious to meet you. I was intrigued by your bet with the Dawson.
It's not a bet. He looked at her with a smirk. A few locks of hair had fallen over his forehead, adding a sort of careless elegance to his look.
Of course, there's a lot at stake. It will be very interesting if you achieve your goal.
Devya narrowed her eyes, searching for mockery or irony in the Lord's expression. Like, to be quite honest, considering on how she's being mistreated in her dozen, it's very difficult to believe that there is someone that actually wishes her well on her journey. Interesting? For whom?
You, me, everyone. This will set a precedent and affect many other things.
De Clare also narrowed his eyes, and strange feelings sparked inside Devi. Christian is interested in you. There will be consequences. Oh no. Oh no. He spoke politely with a smile on his face, but there seemed to be something more hidden behind his words that didn't bode well. It was time to end the conversation. Shall we rejoin our companions? Christian gestured for Devi to go first. I like this man. How much I love a man that is very uptight. How much I want to do everything in my power to break his defenses. Oh God, that's a turn on for me. Saraswati and Diana stopped talking while Lord DeClare and Miss Sharma approached them. Trying to sound professional, Davy got straight to the point. So, what do you think about the mines? Do you want to invest or maybe buy in bulk? Christian replied without hesitation.
I want both.
Huh? Davy froze surprised. Do you want everything?
My lord.
Now let your lord talk. Let the lord talk.
I will invest in the mine, as well as buy stones from you as your main customer and patron. Do we have a deal?
Alright, you did everything perfectly. Thanks in part to Saraswati. This will affect the plot. Let's go, bitches! Devya had to keep her emotions under control not to betray how happy she was to hear that. Good, let's wait for my guardian. He'll prepare the paperwork. Is he even coming? Oh!
Your guardian is already here.
Devya sheepishly turned toward Kamal. He's not going to tell me off in front of everyone, is he? If he wants us to be capable to maintain appearances, he will have to suck his anger up. The man was striding confidently toward them. Arad had tied his horse next to the other two. Diana suddenly felt shy in Kamal's presence, and even Saraswati lowered her eyes. Mr. Rai and Lord DeClare greeted each other and then discussed everything that had happened.
So you're interested? Yes, but we have something to discuss.
Unexpectedly, Saraswati chimed in, speaking in Bengali.
You could also give your answer in our language, couldn't you?
Ooh! Oh! Can you speak Bengali? Can you speak Bengali? Sarah grinned. There was only one explanation for DeClare's surprised expression.
I suspect you speak it fluently.
Diana batted her eyelashes questioningly. Her reaction made it clear that she didn't understand. I did say it would be iconic if you would know. Bye. Like, okay, Christian, you got my attention.
I've been pleasantly surprised by today's meeting.
Christian replied in Bengali. What a king! What a savage! Okay, sir, you have my attention. I'm pretty sure a lot of my fans will be living their best lives when they see that I actually found interest in this man. Christian replied in Bengali, and Kamal and Devi exchanged glances.
I would also take this chance to invite you to a reception that I will be hosting soon.
Oh my god. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is how we do things now, apparently. We finally closed the deal with the king, Christian. And without Kamal's help, might I add. We are queens, we don't need a man. But now he invited us to a ball that he will be hosting, and I'm not sure what to make out of this, but it will be interesting. We didn't see Ram this episode, and I'm actually sad about that. I wanted to see this man, but let's hope that we will see him the next episode, but we will see. I hope you enjoyed this video with me. Tell me in the comments below what you think was best, and I will see you in another video. Bye!